Hi, I'm Jet.
And this is Mariana.
And we're the Fiction Friends.
And these are 5 books we think you should read.
So the first book that we're going to recommend is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. When we first started the podcast, I was forced to do a lot of reading of contemporary fiction, even though I'm typically more of a classics kind of guy, and I was pleasantly surprised with this read. It's beautifully written. It has a very intricate storytelling style and narrative. It has very interesting characters who go through great character development, and it so subtly touches on important social issues without being preachy, and that's something that I really look for in books. And that's why I can really recommend this, especially to people who are fond of contemporary fiction.
Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This is a very beautifully written book about a girl named Kaya who lives by the marsh. She's a very likable character. She's smart, she's brave. You fall in love with her. It's a character-driven book about a girl accused of murder. It's a mystery novel, but more of a coming-of-age book.
And it actually is one of our favorite episodes that we've done on
Second
our podcast.
favorite, yeah.
The next book that I'm going to recommend is A Gentleman in Moscow. It's a book written by a guy named Amor Tolls. It's his second book, and I must say, again, it's another one of those contemporary fiction books that I was pleasantly surprised by. Essentially, the story takes place in a single hotel that spans over 30 years. It follows a guy named Count Alexander Rostov. He was sentenced to house arrest, and he was sentenced to stay in the hotel for the rest of his life. And it's so interesting how the author was able to craft a story that takes place over the span of 30 years inside just one hotel. It's so beautifully written. It's witty. It embodies everything that gentleman's culture and lifestyle and chivalry should be. I think it's a very clever book, and it's very intelligently written. But of course, it has a very charming story that follows some very charming characters that you can't help but fall in love with.
Our next book is Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. It is a spooky collection of fairy tales gone wrong. The graphics are both enchanting and terrifying. It is a book about the woods that I could read over and over again.
And the final book that we're going to recommend is, of course, a classic, one of the best books written of all time, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Whenever people ask me what's a good classic book that they can get into for the first time if they haven't read classics before, this is always the book that I recommend. It's incredibly short, but it's so beautifully written. The word economy in this is so amazing because there's so much story, so much character development, and so much depth that's packed into such a short book. It's beautifully written. The prose of F. Scott Fitzgerald is unrivaled by any other writer in history. It's probably maybe my second favorite book of all time, and it's also one of our favorite episodes that we covered on the podcast for season 1. And I don't know, I'm sure everyone is familiar with the Leo DiCaprio version of the
Great Gatsby.
The storytelling with the movie, but I urge you to read the book. It's 100 million times better.
So those were the 5 books we recommend to all readers.
Yeah. If you're a fan of reading and if you're a fan of literature, please do feel free to listen to our podcast. We're called Fiction Friends. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts.